You're listening to the Fezcast, a Saracens fans podcast bringing you the independent and unhinged views of the voices in our heads, as well as those of our special guests. To get in touch with us, find the Fezcast on social media and listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube and more. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy this week's show.
You're listening to the Fezcast.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to another edition of the Fezcast, and it's a bit of a hodgepodge, but with me tonight is Matt, who's had a busy time of it because I managed to wangle you an interview with Duncan Taylor last minute, which you did last week sometime, didn't you? And then you managed to wangle one with Campbell as well. So, I mean, you've been a busy boy this weekend, haven't you, mate?
Yeah, I mean, apologies to anyone that isn't a fan of my voice. There's going to be a little bit too much of it on this week's show, but yeah, it's been good. I mean, obviously we're doing a lot of this in our spare time, as is anyone that we interview. So it does take a bit of time sometimes. I think I promised a May Campbell interview a good few weeks ago now, and yeah, we got there in the end. So certainly big thanks to May, and obviously thanks for Duncan Taylor who joined us in the 5 or 10 minutes before going into training. So I haven't actually edited the Duncan Taylor interview yet. Hopefully I can take out all of the screaming excitement of the players walking into the same room just as we were getting going. So,
they must have known he was on a call to you, Matt. That's the only thing I can think about from hearing it. Is it the calls? Oh, is that Matt on the background there, Duncan? Yeah. But that's for the end of the show, because what we're going to do is we're going to do Six Nations first, then your interview with May that Alex helped you out on, which is great. And then Duncan's obviously looking forward to the big game on the weekend, which is the PWR final against Gloucester Hartpury at Stonex. But yeah, shall we talk Six Nations first? And we'll go through it very quickly. Quick one, Ireland, France. As much as I hate to see France winning anything, I think it was good to see them. Well, they were superb against Ireland, weren't they? They really just put into perspective, I think, our performance against France in Twickenham a couple of weeks previous, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, the cynic in me says that we didn't beat France. France lost it for themselves. You know, you look at how they played against Ireland, you think, how on earth did we actually manage to beat them? They had a big off day. But you look at, I mean, at the end of the day, they lost Antoine Dupont early in a game when they had one back on the bench. And it didn't seem to affect them at all. They were absolutely fantastic. Yeah, a pretty inspirational performance from France, really, which isn't what we used to see. And they do blow hot and cold quite a lot, and never quite managed to meet their expectations. But yeah, they're in pole position for the tournament win.
Yeah, the only sour point for me is the way that they've reacted to that Dupont injury, where side commissioners have said nothing to answer, referee on the pitch said nothing to answer, TMO said nothing to answer. I think all three of those people got that one badly wrong. We're saying it for a long time. There are certain club sides and certain international sides that enter the ruck at best recklessly, at worst dangerously. I think David Campese made the point today in one of his things where he said that entering the ruck should be like a 747 taking off, and the Irish look like a 747 coming into land on a very short runway. And they've got to stop it because people are going to get badly hurt, like Anton Dupont has. And I mean, you know, you're going to take 9 months out of that guy's rugby career in an unavoidable. It's not like when Andy Christie broke his leg or anything. That was one of those. That happens. That was entirely avoidable. And if World Rugby got anything about themselves, they should have dealt with that and deal with it hard right now and stop it in the game, because more and more players now, because of the actions they're taking in not sanctioning it, are going to say it's okay to win rucks in that way, and it's going to cause a huge lot of problems.
This is it. I mean, you know, the way the game is currently refereed and the way the laws are applied, there isn't, to the book, there isn't a huge amount wrong with what happened, but we can all look at it and go, yeah, it's not really right, because it does does all look pretty dangerous. And you're absolutely right. The analogy of a plane taking off rather than a plane crash landing is pretty much bang on. You don't want people hitting rucks at speed, effectively out of control. 95 times out of 100, it's just a big hit in a ruck. Nothing particularly happens, but it doesn't take too much for a big incident like that to happen. And when it does, it is usually serious. So the laws have developed and changed a lot over time. There's been big fundamental changes in the game frequently. It will happen before, it will happen again. And maybe it's time to really think about how the ruck is policed and how rucks occur.
Rest of the Six Nations, Scotland versus Wales, an interesting game. Scotland got a lead, 60 minutes, switched off the engine, sat back, lit the cigar, poured a glass of brandy, and Wales came back, which is a little bit worrying given that we've got Wales in Cardiff for the last game of the season. We've got to be on our game as England supporters for the whole thing, because I think Wales got rid of Gatland, great coach in his day, but somewhere behind the eight ball in more recent years. Brought in Matt Sherratt. He's done a fabulous job. And Wales actually aren't looking as bad as they were 6 weeks ago, are they?
No, it's amazing what you can do when you pick players that are actually in form and give them a chance to express themselves. It's not too difficult, is it? I think I could have done that. But, the game itself was very reminiscent of plenty of Scotland-Wales games of the past, where one team takes a big lead and the other one comes back and either wins it or nearly wins it. But Wales look better. And as much as an England fan, I do like it when Wales aren't doing particularly well. It's important to have a decent Wales team for the game for a number of different reasons. So seeing them pick up a little bit is great, but I still want to beat them next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important for England because I think actually, if at the start of this tournament, we discussed it before the start of the tournament with England, we were sat there thinking, not wooden spoon, but fourth, maybe fifth, Borthwick, is this going to be Swans or whatever? I actually think that England have found 2 wins out of the blue. They only lost by 7 points to Ireland in Ireland, and are still on the last weekend of the tournament, going to the last weekend of the tournament, in with a mathematical chance of winning the tournament. Now, if you'd given us that at the start of Six Nations, I think we'd have snapped your hands off, wouldn't you, Matt?
I think so. Yeah, I think we were looking for, I was going to say mid-table obscurity, but when there's only 6 teams in it, it doesn't really work like that, does it? There's not a lot of difference between second and fifth, really, in most occasions. But I think there's 2 ways of looking at it. We've got a chance of winning the tournament. It's a very slim one, but it is possible. And form and current standard, you would expect us to finish second in the table, which given where we started and how we were feeling about it, would be fantastic. And you look back in the history in rugby and you look at finishing positions. The other side of the coin is would you rather finish fourth and be happy with the way we're playing the game, or finish second and be a bit frustrated with it? And there's a bit of a debate either way, really, isn't there? But I think we certainly laid a bit of a platform for certain things going into the summer and some autumn internationals as well. So, there is some kind of progress there, definitely.
I do. And I think what's perhaps more pleasing for me is the fact that Borthwick, we might be playing a variation of the game. I see it developing. I see there being more ambition, and certainly against Italy there was more ambition. We scored 7 tries. It's not the routing that France gave Italy the week before. However, we did score 7 tries. Italy aren't a bad side, and they proved that in having some really good tries of their own as well. They're a great attacking side. But I think what is really important is Borthwick's now works out, right, okay, Saints are the best team of backs in the country. We're going to build something around it. I thought Fraser Dingle coming in really did make a difference to that whole England midfield. Along with Elliot Daly, moving into outside centre, and he's the first person from Saracens' point of view I want to pull in, because I think Elliott made my team of the week across all three matches, and I really think he had a 9 out of 10 performance on the day. He was absolutely superb, and he gave England something in the centres that they've been missing for quite some time.
Yeah, but Elliott's found a lot of form over the last couple of years. I think that quite a few of us, me included, who would have said, yeah, his England career is kind of done, really. But yeah, he's certainly had a bit of a renaissance. He obviously had his super sub appearance the other week, and yeah, I think he was absolutely fantastic. I actually wondered, to be honest, obviously with the early injury and Daly starting at 15, what this would do for Marcus Smith's confidence. But I'd have thought maybe it was a bit of a shot to nothing to say to Smith, all right, this is a bit enforced, but you're playing a 13 channel and leave Elliott Daly at fullback. We'll never know whether that would have been a useful thing to do. But with Smith covering all those positions, it's by the by. But yeah, I thought, Elliott had a pretty good run. I'd like to think he's probably going to end up playing the Wales game as well, and I'm really hoping that he continues the form he's in going back into the league season.
Yeah, certainly do. Of course, the other thing that where you talk about picking one club predominantly in the backs, the forwards was 50% Saracens from the start of the game. Let's move from 8 to the front row. Start with Tom Willis. Great to see Tom get a great try, the sort of try that we've seen him score for Saracens this season. Lots of physicality. I mean, there was a couple of strips. He got one strip where he was penalised, I think, and it shouldn't have ever been. And, I had my normal whinge on WhatsApp about the refereeing team, but there was a couple of absolute rickets the refereeing team made, which we won't go into too much. But, yeah, there was a 10-point spread in the first half that should have gone our way that didn't. But, that's the way it goes. But, yeah, Tom had a really good game. I mean, he wasn't on the pitch for as long as I wanted him to be on. I would like to have seen him go the whole game. But when he was on the pitch, he was effective, and he got a good result out of it, didn't he?
He did, yeah. And, it's been a little while. We've got a number 8 who's managed to transfer what he does at club level into international level. For the likes of Sam Simmons and Alex Dombrandt that have been fantastic at club level and just haven't shown that really in an England shirt. Tom Willis, early days, seems to be, he's just playing exactly the same way, which is great. And yeah, that try, he's battered his way through people there. That's absolutely fantastic. I don't even know what it is about him that's so different to other number 8s, how he's able to just crash through people like that. But yeah, it's brilliant.
He's a proper athlete. There's no two ways about it. I mean, that's that, and there's no substitute for that athleticism and power that and when you got those two things together, I mean, that's the perfect thing. Speaking of which, talking about proper athletes with big engines, Ben Earl. I mean, here's a guy, we were a little bit worried when he went off the pitch, but it turns out it was just to have some stitches in the knee. So he came back on and ended up playing inside centre and scored a try from there. I mean, what can't that boy do?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say he's had a quiet season. That's not true at all. He's sort of had a season where he's been part of the machine for Saracens rather than top dog in the back row, mainly because of what Tom Willis has been doing. But like I say, he's 7, 8, 9 out of 10 every single game, and it's fantastic against it. And he was bullying his way through it sometimes. And yeah, for all of we giving Eddie Jones stick saying that Ben Earl should be playing in the 12 shirt and just play people in their normal positions. Actually, it was quite good to see a little bit of invention when we needed it. I think it was probably the second best flanker playing in the centres of the weekend, actually, because I think Jagu for France was absolutely amazing. But yeah, great game for them.
Yeah, it was a weekend for back rows because I mean Jack Morgan had a great game for Wales. Jamie Ritchie was superb for Scotland. Felipe Palatel dragged the years back again. The old warhorse, and as I say, the French back row unit. I mean Gregory Aldry. I mean he's just outstanding. I mean, I would say he potentially is the best player in the world at the moment. I know they say about Dupont what he does, but Gregory Aldry is different custard as well. So yeah, great to see. Again, Maro Itoje. I think Maro Itoje this weekend. If England go to Cardiff next weekend and win, I think Maro Itoje's got the British Lions captaincy sewn up. I can't see a better captain from any of the nations, either playing as a captain now or as a former captain. I mean, Jamie Ritchie might be up there, for instance. You know, you might go with Jack Morgan, Finn Russell. I mean, Maro Itoje, his captaincy has been exemplary this season so far. I think he should get that nod for the British Lions now on the strength of this tournament.
I had concerns and criticisms at the start of the Six Nations about Maro Itoje's captaincy, and I'm quite happy to sit here and say I'm totally wrong. So yeah, he's been brilliant, and it's been the making of him at international level, definitely. So yeah, long time coming and well overdue, clearly. So eat my words, me.
You're allowed to be wrong every now and then, Matt. But yeah. I mean, you know, the person that we really need to speak about and pay tribute to is our boy Jamie George. 100 caps for England. You know, joining a very select crew of players. He is nothing short of excellent every time he goes out there. And I think when you read the interview he did with the Daily Telegraph, where he was talking about at the start of the season, where he lost the captaincy and thinking, is this it? Is this the point I hang up me international shirt or whatever? It lit a fire under him, and he's come back. And again, you know, if Maro Itoje doesn't get the Lions captaincy, well, Jamie George would be the other standout candidate, wouldn't he?
I think it possibly would. I mean, I think it's Sheehan for Ireland who's their skipper. So yeah, you could potentially have two hookers there sharing duties, which why not? Yeah, I mean, for Jamie, I think one of the best quotes from the weekend, I was listening to the Five Live commentaries for a little while and actually can't for the life of me remember who was the analyst for the game, but he was asked what it's like playing against Jamie George. And he said, absolutely horrible. He's a fantastic player, 100% dog all the time. And the worst bit about it, though, is he's a thoroughly likeable bloke as well. So, how do you play against him?
Yeah, he's not like Jamie Ritchie, where you would quite happily, or James Lowe, where you'd quite happily give him a slap, wouldn't you? You'd probably run up into the stands and apologise to his dad, wouldn't you, if you did give him a slap?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's it. He's just an incredible fella. I mean, I was lucky enough to play about 2 games of cricket with him as a kid, and obviously our careers have taken a very different turn from that point. But for just a really bubbly, nice character, and the fact that he's gone on to get 100 England caps is brilliant. And yeah, he's playing at the moment. Theo Dan is pushing him massively at club level. But he is still playing right at the top of his game, Jamie, and it's really great to see.
Yeah, well, that's the Six Nations for this week, though, to say. We've only got one more week of men's Six Nations. Obviously, the women's Six Nations is going to kick off fairly soon. But before that, we've got a small matter of the PWR final. So shall we have a break now, Matt, and then we'll come back and discuss the women's game.
You're listening to the Fezcast.
You are listening to the Fezcast, which is proudly sponsored by the Saracen Supporters Association, and I'm Alison Davis, one of the SSA committee. For a £10 annual subscription, the SSA provides our members with monthly newsletters, virtual and in-person player events, away match ticket allocations, and we organise pre-match gatherings at away matches. We sponsor men's and women's players, and we support the Saracens Foundation Track Club on behalf of our members. On top of all that, every year we have a seasonal SSA badge, which is exclusive to members. Where else can you get that much value for a tenner? Join now at membermojo.co.uk/SSA, or come and see us on match day in the Oasis at the Stonex.
This is the Fezcast.
Well, for this section of the show, I've got Alex with me, which is great. How are you doing, Alex? You all right?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. Yeah, not too bad. But I think potentially it may be the 4th or 5th time of trying. I've made a mess of this a few times over the last few weeks, and there's been one very good reason why we haven't done it as well. We finally got May Campbell on the show for this season. Welcome to the Fezcast once again, May. How are you doing?
Hello. Yeah, I'm really, really well. Yeah, really well. The weather's been a lot better this weekend, so it's like feels like spring finally.
Absolutely, and going into hopefully another big weekend as well. But we'll talk about that in a bit. What we actually wanted to do first was probably ask you the most broad, difficult, and long-winded question we possibly can to start with, and rewind completely back to the start of your career, and just look with a bit of perspective because these are very unofficial statistics that we don't know are right. But you are now well past 100 appearances for Saracens. It's either you or Lottie right at the top of the list of current players over the last 8 years, possibly even level pegging. This season, you have also become, in that 8 years or so, the top try scorer for Saracens, now ahead of Marley and Poppy and everyone else that crosses the line every other week. Whether or not you knew that or not, I have no idea. But how do you reflect on 8 or 9 years or so of your rugby career, given it's gone from right at the start of Premier 15s to this point now? Big broad question. Off you go.
Yeah, big broad question. Yeah. I was thinking, I was like, yeah, this is my 9th season with the side. And when I first rocked up, I think I had no expectation at all. And there was the likes of like George Gulliver, obviously Sonic. And I felt sort of so out my depth. They were so welcoming, but also so fierce when it came to the rugby field of getting things, if I got things wrong. So it was a sort of like baptism of fire. And yeah, like that first season, we got to the final and played Richmond as it was at the Stoop and lost in that. And then that was like a really good first season for me. And then at the end of it, I ended up getting injured and then I was like out for sort of 18 months. And then I think in that time, I was like, oh, I'm actually going to return to the field or getting back and then trying to get back into form is really tough after such a long injury. So I've never really been one to like set goals for the season. Obviously, like this season, we always know that the goal is to win a premiership, but as in like personal goals. So yeah, I definitely didn't think I would have put on a Sarries shirt this much, and I feel incredibly lucky that yeah, I've been able to do that, and like the physios and the S&Cs have made sure that I've been able to be rolled out week in, week out for it. But yeah, I've loved it.
So, well, yeah, you've since that injury, you've barely missed a match. Really, it's quite astonishing, really, how consistent you've been over that time. So no major target to reach Sonic's 300 appearances and.
No, there is not. She messaged me after I got my 150th and she was like, only 150 to go. And I was like, oh my goodness, it's honestly amazing that she has got that milestone. So I think she will be holding on to that for decades.
Well, we'll see. You're probably only halfway through your career. You're certainly younger than I am, so you've got plenty of time to go. But one thing I wanted to mention as well. So earlier on this season, I had one of our many fantastic chats with Alex Osterbury on the show. And I made the mistake of saying to him that something along the lines of, May Campbell is in very good form right now, isn't she? And he pulled me up and said, no, this is just the level that May plays her game at now. This isn't form. This is just the standard of May Campbell. And do you know what? It's absolutely bang on. The last 2-3 seasons, you do seem to have taken your game to another level. Is there anything that you can pin down that explains that, or is it just sheer talent and effort, really?
I think there's obviously a lot of hard work that goes into it. I think like the last couple of years, I've been probably quite particular about like my weekly schedule and it's even stuff like being able to nail things down in the gym. Our S&C Nate has been like really kind to open up like early morning sessions so that it means that I can go in there, use the OA's gym before work rather than having to go on my own. And that, I think, yeah, just that discipline and that hard work week on week allows me to, I guess, like operate at a level that Alex thinks is acceptable. And just like learning, like training and playing, we have some of the best players in the world in the team, and like the league is getting better and better. And I think being in that environment, I feel very lucky to share the field with the players that I do, and also play against the best players in the world too.
That's fair enough. I will qualify as well that Alex Osterby did have a smile on his face when he said that as well. So it was certainly more than acceptable. You know, it takes an awful lot to raise a smile at him. So
it certainly does.
Yeah, so you've been playing at back row quite a bit this season, but do you prefer playing there or playing at hooker?
The next day, I definitely prefer playing at back row. I feel a bit broken from the scrums. But I think that apart from obviously like set piece, they are like very similar. Like people often say that like the hooker's sort of like the fourth back rower. But I think obviously playing back row, it allows you to, I guess, conserve a bit more energy to then have more involvements. So it's definitely been really enjoying. There's been a lot of enjoyment playing in the back row, but then I also do like the competitiveness that I guess you get as a front row, and the sort of one-on-one and front row battle that you get. But I'm just happy wherever I get whatever numbers on the back. I'm happy with that.
Yeah. And also, obviously, you score a lot of your tries from mauls, but do you think a maul try is a team try, forwards try, or an individual try?
Oh, definitely a team try. A team try, definitely.
Even the backs.
No, okay. Well, no, actually, the one that we scored against Ealing, that went sort of like 20 odd meters, Alicia, and there was another back in there. So I was just glad they didn't get on ball. Otherwise, I would have been very, very cross. But no, it's a team try because often, like Zoe kicks for the corner and whole team effort.
How much are they really helping in those mauls, though, when the wingers come in?
I don't know. I've got my head stuck down there and I'm like, I have no idea what is going on. So, yeah.
We have campaigned for the 5 metre line to be renamed the May Campbell 5 metre line at the StoneX, but playing in the back row has maybe broadened out some of. You've certainly made more meters in scoring your tries, but is that part of the game that you've been working on, or coaches have been working on to play a bit more in the loose?
I think it's just been from like naturally how we want to play the game, and it's been like our players have been putting us close to that try line, and I think my height definitely helps in those carries close to the try line. Like Akina's pretty good at it as well, and there's a strong correlation between Akina and my height in that. We probably make up one full person combined. So it's a sort of combination of things, and we also want to play an exciting brand of rugby as well, and that free flowingness. So often it's just finishing off like a line break, or like that Georgia Evans had in the semis even.
Absolutely. Well, it does mean that we've heard the bagpipes played quite a lot at the StoneX this season. But obviously, despite the time at Kilbride Castle, you do clearly have some England ambitions. And you've been in a camp this week. So just tell us what that's been like. Obviously, you have got an England cap so far. Presumably, you'd like to get plenty more, but hopefully that camp is working towards that. How's it been for you?
Yeah, it's been good. I was given a call sort of the week before asking me to go in, and then it was like scrambling to try and ask my boss to get time off. So I was like working in between training sessions, which is always quite exhausting. But it's really good to be in a professional environment. I guess like the resources that they have, and just being able to pick the brains of the coaches and the players. And obviously I would like to put on an England shirt again. I think the coaches are very aware of my ambition to do that. But I think, as I said earlier in the season, like hopefully just putting in consistent performances like week in, week out, and doing my job to like my best ability can help to get to that. So we'll just see. It's just some world-class hookers in England as well. So yeah, it's tough.
There is, yeah. It's a very competitive position. And I don't even know whether I'm framing this as a question or a statement yet. But obviously the likes of Lark Davis, Amy Cockayne, they've been in that professional environment for a number of years. And obviously you mentioned the access to that professional environment, the fact that I'm not even going to call you a part-time rugby player because it's still a full-time job that you're doing alongside another full-time job. So it's ridiculous, really. But they have had the additional opportunities and access. So it must be a little bit more difficult for players to break into that setup.
I think it is, but where I guess women's rugby is at the moment is that's what it is, and you have to sort of just get on with it and do the best you can with that situation. So I guess what's been great this year is Bryfield and I have had the resource of throwing with Rob Webber, which has been really good fun in the mornings beforehand. So it's just trying to make things that work around a working schedule outside of rugby.
Yeah. That's interesting. I don't know that many people would know that obviously Rob is being part of the men's coaching setup as his main role, but giving yourself and Bryony the opportunity to train with him. Is that something that regularly happens within the squad? Do you get the coaches crossing over between the two teams? Or?
I think so. I think often it'll be like probably during, like we also have Baz who does our scrums as well. I think they probably come in like a bit more during skills because of the timings of ours. But yeah, and also like the men's players are always like all ears to see if they can help and like support too. So yeah, it's a good real like one club feeling.
Okay. No, that's perfect. I'm really glad to hear that, to be honest. But
yeah. And obviously you've been in England camp this week. What's it like kind of training with players like Zoe Allcroft and Mo Hunt that you're going to then go and play against at the weekend? Does it kind of make a different feel in camp or not?
There was a lot of talk, if I'm allowed to say that. But all in like really good jest. Like obviously the focus when we were in camp was like preparing for the Six Nations, and actually just talking about what a great occasion this Sunday and the final will be. And I think both the sides, we have a lot of respect for each other, and like Zoe and your Mo's, they're all very, and like Maud, they're all like very humble players. So yeah, I just said that we're very much looking forward to welcoming them to StoneX.
I have to say, I'm sorry I'm interrupting, Alex, but I do have to say there's something absolutely fantastic about the polished voice of May Campbell swearing on our podcast. I think this. Anyway.
So obviously you mentioned that you're kind of working alongside playing, but how is it playing Sale on the Friday night, kind of after a day of work, rather than kind of having the full day to prepare like you would on a Saturday or Sunday?
Yeah, it was definitely quite different. I don't think I've played in a Friday night game before, actually. Thankfully, I was working from home, so I go into the office Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I was working from home, so it makes it just like I can sort of chill out a bit more. And then they allowed us to work from StoneX in the afternoon, so then we could get there with enough time to do some work and then be there for sort of straight into team meetings. It was, really nice to play on the Friday evening, but with, I guess, not everyone being professional, it does make it a bit trickier. It also makes it quite a long day. And then also none of us could really sleep that night because you end up just taking so much caffeine so late in the day. It's then quite tricky, but hopefully, like if and when the league becomes professional, like Friday Night Lights will become a bit more sort of entertaining for everyone and more of a possibility.
Yeah, I think definitely as a fan, I enjoyed kind of going there on Friday, and then kind of just having the entire weekend to kind of still do stuff.
Oh, good, oh, good.
Me and my family like to go to the away games. Do you think having fans at away games, even if it's just like 5 or 10 people, helps, or does it just not make that much of a difference? Or if you're going to like Gloucester, where they've just got so many fans that it kind of just you kind of lose the Saracens fans in that.
No, I don't think there's any chance of losing the Saracens fans. Wherever you go, you can always hear them, which is just fantastic. And I, yeah, just love seeing them. Like they're always there for when we get off the bus. And yeah, it's just such a special, like the Saracens fans are just so, so great. And I know like all the players just absolutely love it. All the games that they come to and hearing their chants. So yeah, I can only just say thank you.
We did have Big Nigel on the show last week, and yeah, you can't miss him, can you?
No, not a chance.
Obviously, we're building up to the final. We're going to finally talk about it now. How much have you actually trained so far with the Saracens team in the last week and a bit, leading up to the final? How's it been going?
Yeah, so obviously missed Tuesday session, and then Thursday we were released from camp, and so we were allowed to go to training, watch rather than take part in it. But then yeah, this week is sort of full steam ahead. So yeah, we're all very much aligned on like what we need to do, and now because we've also got a session on Friday, sort of our captain's run, full steam ahead to nail our detail ahead of Sunday.
So, yeah, not a huge amount of training yet in the build up with the team, but everyone's in the same camp. I suppose Gloucester players have got the same issue, so level playing field really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they missed a lot last week too, so all on the same boat, thankfully.
There's no point in asking how he wanted to go, but we did speak to Duncan Taylor on this show as well, and he did reference the fact that technically Saracens are effectively the away team for this match, despite it being played at the Stonex. Is that, I suppose that is kind of a new challenge for us to be seen as the second team at our own ground. Is it something that you've spoken about at all?
It's something that we've spoken about. It's definitely something in camp that the Gloucester players were looking forward to. But I think that is just something to try and like detract from the game. That's an external factor, and when we step on the pitch, it's still the Saracens' Stonex. It's still our ground. So whether or not which changing room we end up in, that's sort of irrelevant. And we all know that yeah, we can't get caught up on those sort of smaller factors around it. So it will be different, but we've got to adapt to it essentially.
That's fair enough. I've spent the entire season stamping on players' toes as I go through to the media room, so yeah, definitely remember not to do that this time round. If anyone's listening, that isn't true. But, obviously, you know, we're hoping there's going to be a large crowd there. I already know that Gloucester have got a fleet of buses coming up, so they'll be there making plenty of noise. But it goes without saying, really, that you need us to really get behind you on the day, doesn't it?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, the more the merrier. So shouting Saris would be great. It just adds to obviously the occasion, and we obviously just play it to put on a good spectacle for the fans. So hopefully we can make it a day to remember.
Absolutely. We're making the bold assumption that you're going to be playing in this final, and you have played in several before. Is that an experience that you've been able to talk to some of the less experienced players about, or is it more of just a bit of a group style thing in that regard?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, because we've got quite a lot of people who've played in finals before, and I said like the one that we won against Harlequins at Franklin Gardens, I always talk about the feeling on the pitch then. It was like total calm. It was just so strange, but in such a good way. And even the one that when we beat Exeter at Worcester Warriors ground, RIP. And I think what's great is we've got a lot of like big players to stand up in like big occasions, but we know that we can't. I think probably in the past we could rely on those big players, but now it's like an entire squad effort, and everyone has to show up and be their absolute best if we're in for a chance, because that Gloucester team is stacked. So and they've obviously won the last two, so we're trying to put an end to their winning streak.
That actually is a point. You know, we've obviously gone into a lot of the finals over the last 7 or 8 years as the favourites, and less so this time round. Does that change the dynamic slightly, or is it just another game to win?
I think it's another game to win, and I guess we're probably considered underdogs, but that again is just external noise going on. We just know it's a huge game, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day who the favourites are.
Okay, well, Alex, anything else you wanted to bring? Or?
No, I'm all right, thanks.
Okay, well, in that case, I'll actually leave the last word of any real substance to May Campbell. May, if you've got anything else to say to our listeners, now is the opportunity you have.
Just I expect everyone to be there on Sunday, and we'll be thoroughly disappointed if not. But thanks so much for everyone's support so far this season, and let's hope we can bring back the trophy.
I'll put it better myself. Well, certainly Alex and I are there, and I think the vast majority of the rest of the Fezcast team are there. So that's at least 6, I think, that we know are turning up. So hopefully there's another few thousand on top of that. But May, we'll let you get on with the rest of your evening. Hopefully it is one that can be a little bit more chilled than clearly you've had over the last few weeks. But really appreciate your time with us, and I'm not even going to bother saying best of luck for the final, because I know it's going to be great for you. But mate, really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're listening to the Fezcast.
Hi, Alex Osterbury here, Director of Rugby for Saracens Women. You're listening to the Saracens Fezcast.
This is the Fezcast.
Well, thanks to May for joining you there, Matt and Alex, and a really interesting interview. And I mean, the dynamics of being in camp the week before a final for England training sessions, where you're going to have a fair percentage of Saracens players and a fair percentage of Gloucester players. Well, I mean, as May said, I mean, the banter and everything, or perhaps she put it less delicately, must have been brilliant.
Yeah, that's quite surprising that you are more delicate than May Campbell. It definitely sounded like it was pretty interesting. And you know, the most interesting thing for me out of that, and well, the most interesting thing for everyone else would be the things that Alex was asking rather than the things that I was asking. Really showing myself up, but it was a bit. Obviously, May isn't a professional full-time rugby player. She's had to, at the last minute, take time off work or change working hours to go down and do some prep work in an England camp alongside 3 international hookers who are full-time rugby players, show what she can do out of that. At the same time, be thinking about preparing for Saracens and coming back from those camps straight into Saracens action. It's like I said in interviews, you know, she's not a part-time rugby player. She's a full-time rugby player. She's a full-time employee of another company, and she's still finding the time to go to the gym, do strength and conditioning work, stand in a freezing cold field in Old Albanians in the morning before going to work with Rob Webber, which is quite lovely, really. And yeah, quite how she even finds the time to do an interview with me and Alex, I've got no idea.
And you know, that's the sort of dedication you get, and it's why, you know, and I'm not just saying May, because there'll be girls at Gloucester as well who do exactly the same thing, but the women's game deserves our support for all those reasons you said there. It's not like, you're paid a good wage just to play rugby, and that's not diminishing what the guys do, because, they've got to put a lot of effort in as well themselves. But the sacrifices the girls make, and it does remind you a lot about when the men's game, just before it was going professional. I always remember Mike T talking about how much it used to cost him, because he was a self-employed builder playing rugby, and if he went on a tour, and in those days when tours were like 3 months long, he lost money. And you can see that the girls have got to make do they put their careers totally on hold, just tide it over until their rugby career's over? Or do they fully commit? And see it with Leanne Infante this year, that she took a step away. She was able to come back and help us out when we needed her to do it. But she, say, I've got to concentrate on my career now, because that's the age I'm at and the way I'm at.
Hello, Izzy. Yeah, I mean, it does make you wonder, really, just how many potentially top-class rugby players are not even in the game, because they've put a professional career where they're going to earn more money and have a longer career. Put that first, But you can't just change things overnight. You can't just suddenly make it all professional. The May was possibly even too blunt, maybe, about saying, well, that's the state of the game and we've just got to get on with it. But, you look at how much it's growing, and hopefully that does start to change. And there are more professional contracts for players, or contracts that allow players to take more of a step back in whatever their other commitments are. But yeah, you look at the growth, even since we've been starting this show, it's astronomical. So yeah, hopefully it all continues moving forward. But it will continue moving forward with May Campbell at the forefront of it, because she's, like I said, she's still only halfway through her career.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think that she's been around. I mean, she has been around for quite some time, but she is still relatively young, and well done to her for having the energy to be able to do all that she does. And as I say, as you get older, perhaps things do slow down a little bit. We're all the same, aren't we? You come to a point in your life where you do have to reprioritize what you're doing and whatever. So, but all credit to her, and thanks to her for joining you on this. Now, obviously, the important thing is the build-up we're now looking into is the big final on the weekend. And, Gloucester-Hartpury, it's going to be a big old fight, isn't it? The two best teams in the country this year are contesting the final, our place. Now, before we discuss it, perhaps we'll play in the interview that you did with Duncan Taylor now, because, you've heard from a player side of you. Now it's time to hear from a coach's side of you. And I mean, what better coach to have on your sideline than someone like Duncan Taylor, who's had more than his fair share of integral moments, shall we say, in cup finals in the past.
Hi, this is Petrus Duplessis, and you are listening to the Fezcast.
This is the Fezcast.
So this week on the Fezcast, we're obviously in the build-up to the PWR final, and delighted to say we've got Duncan Taylor joining us, who obviously Saracens player of 150 caps, but now the backs coach for the women's team at the last couple of years. Duncan, thank you very much. How are you doing? You okay?
I'm very well, thanks. Yeah, how are you?
Excellent. Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. I'm really looking forward to the weekend coming up. So we're recording this just over a week before the final. But just before we talk about the final itself, what are your reflections sort of on the season up until now? It's obviously been a little bit up and down in the middle patch, but a pretty strong start and end to the season. So what are your sort of general thoughts on how it's gone?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a crazy season, really. It's been fast, and yeah, it's been a bit rocky at times. But I think a lot of teams have sort of gone through similar with injury crisis at various points, and trying to keep the energy high through the group whilst the games have just been coming thick and fast. So it's been challenging as far as that's concerned. But it's been it's been a season I think that the girls have really ripped into, which has been really pleasing. It's not been one where there's been a lot of complaints or issues around the pace of the games coming. So that's always been pleasing, and I think the girls have just sort of rolled their sleeves up in particular in this last 2 months and just cracked on and found a new gear really this last couple of months, which has been really pleasing. So we seem to be building at the right time, and hopefully peaking at the right time as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I spoke to Alex Osterbury after the Leicester game, and sort of the first time after the loss to Loughborough, and he was keen to stress that there was a bit of a line in the sand being drawn about where you want to go with the rest of the season and in future, and presumably we're all very pleased with the reaction at the back end of the season. But I suppose right at the start of the season as well, it's worth mentioning some of the players that were playing at a time when internationals were missing and things, and almost built momentum before they even came back. So there's sort of the bookends of the season obviously have been fantastic in different ways, haven't they?
Absolutely, yeah. We had a lot of young girls got a lot of exposure at the start of that season, and did really well. And they've really sort of built to the depth of this group and this team, which has been great. So when we have had those injuries or any issues, there's been some real depth that we can fill those shoes with, which has been really pleasing. And I think the way they grabbed hold of the season, the young girls in particular, has been sort of a testament to the whole club really, and the pathway success and what's coming through there at the minute. There's loads of talent, and yes, it's some great players that we've had the privilege of working with start of the season, got loads of opportunity and took them. So it's been challenging actually picking teams. Which is obviously a great thing and a great headache for coaches to have.
Well, yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, on to the semi-final itself. I mean, obviously games against Harlequins always have a bit of edge and a bit of beef to them, but you must be pleased with the reaction to going behind a couple of times and getting ahead in the game, and certainly from your perspective as a backs coach, some fantastic tries from Jess Breach and Alicia Corrigan and things, but an all-round pretty good performance.
Yeah, it was. It was. Watching that game back, I think we probably on another day that could have been. We could have scored a few more tries and got a few more points. So I think everything was really in our control throughout the majority of that game. We probably gave away a couple of relatively soft tries, and obviously didn't start particularly well. But it was always going to be tough playing against Quins. They're a tough side to play, and they've had a great season so far, and they've built well. So we knew it was going to be hard, and it was going to be tough at times, and we were going to have to grind it out. And we did do that in the end, which was really pleasing. I think we've sort of proven over the last few weeks really that we can win in various different ways, which is pleasing. We can win when we've got the wind in our sails. We can win when it's tough, and when you have to roll your sleeves up and really get the job done. We've proven that as well. So there's a couple of things we just got to brush up on as far as our composure is concerned in key areas of the game. But on the whole, it was a pleasing performance, and one we can definitely springboard us onto this final.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned the final. Obviously, we're in the first of 2 weeks of prep going into that final. But I understand, obviously, there's a little bit of disruption with players disappearing off for an England training camp. But if that is causing disruption, how is the rest of the preparation going for the final at the moment?
Yes, I mean, it's not ideal, but it's it's going to be the same in the Gloucester camp as well. They're facing the same issue. So we'd love to have everyone here, and I'm sure Gloucester would love to have everyone there for this week as well to get that extra bit of preparation in. But it is what it is. So again, the girls have just cracked on with the players that we do have here that are available. They've ripped into training this week. We've got loads out of it. We'll have a few of the international girls will be coming back in this evening for some meetings and stuff, and they've obviously just been down in Bristol, so they're all driving up for it. So everyone's been all over the place. But I mean, ultimately, we're coming together tonight, and we'll come together over the course of next week as well. And we've got sort of 3 training sessions. We'll get full buy-in, and we'll get all of our players available for those training sessions. So yeah, the preparation, it is what it is. We've done as best as we can with what we've had this week, and I think it's been really productive.
Like you say, it's a level playing field with you and Gloucester obviously being impacted the same. But I mean, obviously, some of our team have been in several finals previously, internationally and at club level, and some of them may be a little bit newer to things. You yourself have been in plenty of major finals as a Saracens player as well. So, how much has your experience really helped with going into the knockout stages, and are you bringing quite a lot to to the table for that, or are you sort of leaning more on the likes of the experienced players within that camp?
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of the situation is you've got so many of these girls that have played in these big games and have had probably more exposure than I have in these finals, and that have won a ton of them as well. So you've got so much experience within the group in these big games. Obviously, we haven't made it there in the last couple of years, but I think the only thing that does is just make these girls more hungry to get back there, which is why we feel like we can really kick on and win this thing, as well as the desire and the hunger from this group, having missed these opportunities the last couple of years to play in finals and to win a trophy. Is, other than the cup last year, it's something that we've all been craving and wanting. So I think, yeah, the experience we've got within the group, amazing. They've been there and done it, but also the hurt that we've experienced over the last couple of years can actually bring out the best in you when these big games come around as well.
Absolutely. And if you don't mind me squeezing in another question before we go back to the final, just on yourself. Obviously, you're in your second year as the women's backs coach. Obviously, doing a bit of work with I think it was the under-19s previously as well, under 18s. How are you finding developing yourself as a coach? Were you coaching much towards the end of your playing career with Saracens? Is it a completely new thing to you? Or?
Yeah, it's you do bits and bobs when you're a player, but nowhere near what I had been doing as soon as I ended up retiring. So going into the women's stuff that straight away was great, and a completely different world really to what I'd been used to as a player. So flipping that mindset altogether and get appreciation for what the coaches do and how much effort and time that has to go into bringing out the best in the team has been really valuable. And then obviously coaching the girls has been super valuable as well. It's just it's obviously a different environment to the men's environment. So you've got to adjust and adapt a little bit, but it's challenging in a really good way. And then having that alongside the under-18s academy stuff as well, again, it's just challenging in a completely different way. You just get, it's all about sort of player development and how you bring out the best in those individuals in those under-18 stuff, how you sort of create a Saracen. And the women's stuff is, it's a team thing. We're ultimately trying to win trophies and premierships and cups. So it's kind of, you get the two different styles of coaching, which is, I think it's been beneficial to experience that this last couple of years.
Fair enough. It'd be great to see how you continue to develop as a coach as well alongside all the players. But obviously, let's get back to the final. Gloucester Hartpury coming up, who've led the league for all of the season, I think. Tough opposition, going for their third title. But obviously, we have got a final at home. How much of an impact is that going to have, do you think, on how it could go?
I mean, it's great. It's I think it's a really great position to be in. It might not get all the home comforts that we're used to at home, but ultimately, all that matters really is what happens out on that field, and that is our home. And I think it's I think it's a bit of it's a bit of a blessing to have be in this situation that we're in. And I think that's also something that's really driven these girls to get here, because it is different when you play at home. It is different, and it is a completely different buzz and mindset towards what you're doing. And to do that in a big game, in a final, I think is really important. But ultimately, Gloucester are an incredibly tough team to beat, home or away. So they're going to come here, and they're not going to care where they are. And they're going to want to bring out the best in themselves out on that field as well, which we call our home. So it's going to be a battle. We can try and play on that home advantage as much as we want, but ultimately all that really matters is what happens out on that field.
So I'm assuming you actually get put in the wrong changing room for this game, don't you?
Yeah. So top seed gets the decision on whether they have home change rooms or not. I'm not even sure if we're allowed to park in where we'd regularly park. So things are all a little bit different, but it is what it is. We still get to play out there on our field.
Exactly. Still the right place. Well, look, obviously, I understand you've probably got plenty to be getting on with. I think I'll probably hear most of them in the background getting ready for something. So, just before we leave, Duncan, is there anything that you'd like to say to those listening to this with the final coming up in a few days' time?
No, other than just be there and be noisy. It should be a great day, and two of the best teams in the country going at it at Stonehenge, I think, is a really special thing. So it should be a great day out. Come and join, and we need your support.
Absolutely. Well, I'll be there. I'll be as noisy as I possibly can. And yeah, let's hope for a good result. Duncan, really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And yeah, best of luck for the final. Hopefully see plenty more from you going forward as well.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
This is the Fezcast.
Well, thanks again to Duncan and also Will at the club for sorting that one out, and for you for taking it on at such short notice. I think you had about a quarter of an hour's notice, didn't you, on that one, Matt?
Yeah, about that. It's probably quite noticeable, but then, it's normally noticeable when I haven't prepared, even though I've had 3 days to do it. So, yeah, it doesn't matter too much. But yeah, a lot of great comments from Duncan there. It was really great to speak to him.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Duncan's someone that, in his playing days, despite the fact that he had 150 appearances, they were spread over about 27 years, weren't they, with all the injuries he had and everything. But he was always someone who was happy to speak. Sometimes you get players, I don't say player, there's no player who's not unhappy to talk to people and everything like that. But for some people, it's like, it's a bit of a task to do it, whereas Duncan was always really happy to stand up and talk. And, now he's moving into the coaching side of things. Again, he's done the same there, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I did refrain from my introduction to him being a former part-time Saracens player, Duncan Taylor, but it was, probably a bit rude. But yeah, he's someone that you could always rely on him, no matter how long he was out injured for. You could always rely on him to come back and play a key part in the build up to a final. And that's what I wanted to speak to him about. Really, is how much of that is he expressing over to the players. And as you heard, he not dismissed it, but he recognised the fact that there's just as many of the girls in that team that have featured in as many or more finals than he has. But he has got a lot of insight to give to that team, and it sounds like he's thoroughly enjoying his time as a coach. I think this is his 2nd season as a coach, and he's getting so much out of it, which is fantastic with the women's team and also the academy as well.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I'm not going to try and be disparaging to Duncan whatsoever, but was he a player when you were watching players, and you sit there and you'll talk about other players and you'll say, yeah, that guy's going to end up being a coach. Like Alex Good's going to end up being a coach because of the way that he plays and the intelligence that he shows. You would look at you would never look at Billy Vanapola for argument's sake and say that guy's going to be a coach by any stretch of the imagination, because that's not what his skill set are. Did you look at Duncan when he was playing and think this is a guy who could potentially move that direction?
I suppose it's not something I think about all the time about players particularly, but I would maybe say that the fact that he fought so hard to come back from injury after injury and stay in the game meant that perhaps once he finally finished his career, he still wanted to stay in the game. Now, he could have done that in any number of ways. He could have gone the Jim Hamilton route and just got on the beers with the fans for a little while. But I suppose it's not necessarily someone that I immediately thought would pop up in the coaching team straight away. So yeah, but it sounds like he's taken to it like duck to water, really.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I think perhaps maybe the periods of time when he was injured, but staying around the club helped develop that side of him, because you've got no option. You're turning up for training, so. Are you watching the players, or are you taking a deeper interest perhaps in what the coaches are doing and learning from that? And that definitely seems to be how he used that time, I would have thought.
That seemed that way, yeah. I don't think it was entirely just getting on the beers with Baz Barrington, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Although I'm sure there was an element of that. But of course, I mean, what you did talk about, and we're at great pains, and we really need to talk about now, is the fact that at StoneX, on the weekends, on Sunday, is the biggest game at StoneX, I think, certainly for the women, in the history of the club. I mean, it's a final. It's a big final. 2 years we've been away from it. That fire, we know that fire burns. I mean, the club, we've spoken to Alex Osterbury at AGMs for the SSA, and he kind of downplays it a little bit, but that fire's burning, and there's there's unfinished business. There's a bit of hurt, isn't there? There's an awful lot going into this game.
There's a huge amount, yeah. And there is the interesting twist in a way, which both May and Duncan spoke about with us, is the fact that although we're going into it playing at home, we're actually going in as effectively the away team and the underdogs as well, which is definitely different territory for us. So, yeah, it's a huge occasion. I think both of them were keen to, maybe slightly downplay it a little bit and just stay focused. But yeah, it's definitely a huge occasion, which we know. This is a bit cliched, really, but regardless of the result, you know that absolutely everything's going to be going into that.
Yeah, it's going to be full-blooded, full throttle, isn't it? And I mean, I suppose the question to ask is, where do you think the game can be won? I'm not going to say won or lost because we're not going to concentrate on loss, but where do you see Saracens being stronger than a very, very good Gloucester Hartby side?
Yeah, I think the main thing that's going to win us the game is our defence. It's not a great thing to say because it doesn't always make for a good spectacle, but Gloucester team, there's a lot of power in that team. And we're going to have to be on it for 80 minutes in defence to hold them back and frustrate them. And, quite frankly, it's an obvious one, really, but with Zoe Harrison pulling the strings at 10, I think that is a key fundamental difference between the two teams. The fact that we do have her in a lot of form as well. I think, relatively evenly matched in the backs, and we've potentially got the edge on them in that regard across the entire back line. But, I mean, you look at Emma Singh for Gloucester. I mean, she's probably one of the players of the season, if not the player of the season, even with us talking to May this weekend. So, really, really tough. But yeah, we've got to defend well at the end of the day. That could be it for us.
Now, the other important thing is, and I'm saying this with a bit of a heavy heart, because I can't make the StoneX on Sunday. I'm double booked, and it's a commitment that I can't get out of. But the important thing, and I think Duncan made the point right at the end of his interview, is the importance of the 24th player, the crowds. Yep. Okay, we are the away side. Okay, we are the underdogs, but the StoneX crowd really need to be fully vocal, fully supportive, and 100% behind the team, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah. May as well was. She actually said, "Shame on you if you're not there." So that's fair enough.
Sorry, May.
But yeah. Fans are massively important, and so yeah, Duncan, like I say, he mentioned it there. May mentioning as well. A fantastic question from Alex, sort of rewinding back, where she sort of said, there are some away matches where there's maybe 10 Saracens fans that turn up, and May said, yeah, we can hear them. They make such a big difference. We can hear those 10. I mean, if one of them is Nigel Eaton, then of course you can hear them. But it's that small amount makes a difference. So yeah, clearly thousands at the StoneX is going to make a difference. It's going to be a slightly different atmosphere on the day because there's going to be neutral fans and there's going to be heaps of Gloucester fans as well. But our fans getting behind the team, the coaches, the players, they say it time and time again, it makes a massive, massive difference. So, yeah, got to be on it.
Absolutely. Well, I think all that remains for us to say is best of luck to the girls and the women's team. Don't think they need luck. They just need to do what they're doing and be the best version of Saracens women and to not die wondering, to leave everything out there, don't they? Absolutely,
yeah. End of the day, they just got to do themselves proud. That's all you can really ask for. It's good to see that it looks like the majority of the East Stand is completely sold out, as is a fair bit of the West Stand as well. So it's going to be a healthier crowd for the women's game than you see at the standard women's game. So that is going to help. But yeah, you just want them to go out there, put 100% in it, and be proud of themselves walking off the pitch. But that's too much of the airy fairy neutral answer. Get out there, smash Gloucester, and bring home a trophy for us because we want one.
Yeah, we play Gloucester every year. We never like them. And, so a message to the Fezcast, to the women, if any of you are listening in, you know, we're proud of you, hugely proud of you, hugely behind you. Even if we can't make it, we will be cheering you on from wherever we are, and we'll be the 24th player for you guys. Just go out there, make yourselves proud, as you say, Matt, and we will be proud of them regardless, won't we?
We will. If you do lose 70-0, though, I'm not going to be very happy about it. So, you know,
well, especially as it'll be you and Duncan and Alex doing the show next week, because I won't be able to make it. Although I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that we might be able to do a bonus show next week as well, because it would be the build up to the showdown, and more of that. You can check out on social medias to see whether that comes together or what happens. But Matt, thank you for your time. I should have said at the start of the show, thanks to Nigel Eaton for last week. I thought his input to the show was absolutely brilliant last week with Duncan and Alex. Absolutely fantastic. Thanks to him. Thank you to May Campbell. Thank you to Duncan Taylor and Matt, and obviously thank you to everybody who's listening in. And we'll speak to you again next week, hopefully reviewing and celebrating a fine win in the PWR.
We can only hope.
No hope. We know it's going to happen. Let's get behind them. Go on, women. Go on, you Sarries.
This is the Fezcast.